The invitation arrived on thick cardstock, embossed with gold lettering. Sacred Heart Medical Center cordially invites you to the grand opening of the Chin Cardiovascular Innovation Center. Saturday, April 15, 2 p.m. Light refreshments will be served. I held it in my hands, running my thumb over the raised letters of my own name. My name. On a building that would save thousands of lives over the coming decades. My phone rang. "Jennifer, darling, I have the most wonderful news," she said before I could even say hello. "My garden club is getting a private tour of that new heart center at Sacred Heart. You know, the one everyone's been talking about? Some wealthy donor built it. April 15th at 2 o'clock. I looked down at the invitation in my hand. "That's nice, Mom. I was thinking maybe you could join us. You work at the hospital, don't you? Maybe you could explain all the medical equipment to the ladies. Make yourself useful." I closed my eyes. "I work at a hospital, yes." "Well, perfect. Oh, and wear something nice. These are important women. Patricia Holbrook will be there. Her husband owns 3 car dealerships. And Susan Chin. No relation to you, obviously. She married very well. I don't want you embarrassing me in your usual scrubs or whatever." "I'll see if I'm available," I said. "Oh, don't be silly. What could you possibly have scheduled that's more important than supporting your mother? Your brother always makes time for family events, and he's a vice president at Anderson Consulting. A real executive. But I suppose you're busy doing, what is it you do again? Something with charities." "Something like that," I said quietly. "Well, anyway, 2 o'clock sharp. Don't be late." She hung up before I could respond. I set down the phone and looked around my office. Chief of Cardiothoracic Surgery, the nameplate on my desk read. The walls were covered with diplomas: Johns Hopkins Medical School, Stanford Residency, fellowships in cardiac surgery and transplantation. Certificates of achievement from the American College of Surgeons. Published papers in the New England Journal of Medicine, The Lancet, JAMA Cardiology. And in the corner, framed but facing the wall where I wouldn't have to look at it every day, the Forbes 40 Under 40 feature from 2 years ago. Dr. Jennifer Chin, the heart surgeon revolutionizing cardiac care. My mother had never seen any of it. Not because I'd hidden it from her, though I suppose I hadn't exactly advertised it either. But because she'd never asked. Never shown any interest in my work beyond dismissive comments about playing doctor, or still in school at 35. My younger brother, David, had graduated with a business degree from a state school and landed a middle management job at a consulting firm. Vice President of Regional Operations, his title read, though I knew from mutual acquaintances that he managed a team of 12 people and spent most of his time creating PowerPoint presentations. Mom treated him like he'd cured cancer. I had actually saved 2,847 lives over the course of my career. I kept count the way some surgeons do, a tally of hearts restarted, valves replaced, arteries bypassed. I'd pioneered a new technique for mitral valve repair that had been adopted by cardiac centers worldwide. I'd donated $15 million of my own money, earned through speaking fees, consulting, and shrewd investments in medical technology startups, to build a state-of-the-art cardiac center. Mom thought I worked in a hospital gift shop or something. The worst part was that I'd let her think it. Every time she'd asked what I did, I'd given vague answers. "I work at Sacred Heart. I'm in healthcare. I do cardiac stuff." She'd fill in the blanks herself, always assuming the least impressive option, and I'd never corrected her. Maybe I wanted to see if she'd be proud of me anyway. If she'd love me without the validation of success. If I was more to her than just a disappointment compared to David. The answer over 15 years had been a resounding no. My assistant, Maria, knocked on the open door. "Dr. Chin? Your 2 o'clock consult is here. Mr. Patterson, the triple bypass." "Thanks, Maria. Send him in." I stood, smoothing my white coat. "Oh, and Maria? My mother's garden club is touring the new center on Saturday. Can you make sure I'm visible?" She raised an eyebrow. "Your mother doesn't know, does she?" "Know what?" "That you're Dr. Jennifer Chin. The Dr. Jennifer Chin." She gestured around the office. "Chief of Surgery. Major donor. The woman whose name is literally on the building." "It's never come up," I said. "How has it never come up?" "She's never asked the right questions." Maria shook her head, smiling slightly. "This should be interesting. Want me to alert Dr. Morrison? He loves dramatic revelations." Dr. Richard Morrison was the hospital's director, a silver-haired administrator who'd been thrilled when I'd agreed to donate enough money to build a world-class cardiac center. He'd wanted to name it after me and I'd agreed, thinking it might finally make my parents take notice. They'd never mentioned it. Not once. Yes, I said. Alert Richard. Tell him I want to be there for the tour. In my full capacity. Oh, this is going to be good, Maria said, grinning. I'll make popcorn. Saturday arrived bright and clear. I dressed carefully that morning, not in scrubs as Mom had feared, but in a tailored navy suit with a white blouse. Professional. Powerful. I wore my hospital ID badge on a lanyard, the words Chief of Cardiothoracic Surgery clearly visible. I'd scheduled a surgery that morning, a complex aortic valve replacement on a 62-year-old grandmother. 4 hours in the OR, every minute requiring absolute focus and precision. By 1:30 I was closing, confident that Mrs. Rodriguez would be dancing at her granddaughter's quinceañera in 6 months. Beautiful work, Dr. Chin, my surgical resident said as we finished. Thank you, Dr. Patel. Make sure her family knows she'll be in recovery for about 2 hours, then ICU overnight. I'll check on her before I leave this evening. I scrubbed out, changed into my suit and headed downstairs to the new Cardiovascular Innovation Center. The building was magnificent, 3 stories of glass and steel, filled with the latest technology money could buy. Hybrid operating rooms that combined traditional surgery with advanced imaging. A cardiac catheterization lab with real-time 3D mapping. Recovery suites that looked more like luxury hotel rooms than hospital spaces. All of it funded by my donation. All of it bearing my name. Richard Morrison was waiting in the lobby, along with several other administrators and department heads. Jennifer. Ready for the show. As ready as I'll ever be, I said. Where are they? Started on the 3rd floor. Your mother's group has been here for about 30 minutes, touring the patient suites. They'll work their way down to the main lobby, where we'll do the formal presentation. Has she said anything? Your mother. Richard's eyes twinkled. Oh yes. Quite a lot, actually. One of my development officers overheard her explaining to the group that her daughter works somewhere in the hospital, doing something medical, but that her son is the real success story, a VP at some consulting firm. I winced. She said that in front of the staff? In front of everyone. Patricia, our head of development, nearly choked on her coffee. She had to excuse herself. I should have told her years ago, I said quietly. Why didn't you? I wanted to see if she'd be proud of me without the credentials. Without the titles. If she'd value me just for being her daughter. Richard's expression softened. And now I know. Voices echoed from the 2nd floor atrium. The garden club was descending the main staircase. A group of well-dressed women in their 60s, oohing and awing over the architecture. My mother was in the center, wearing a cream-colored suit and pearls, holding court like a queen. I recognized a few faces from childhood. Mrs. Holbrook, who'd always been kind to me. Mrs. Chin, no relation, who'd married a tech executive and never let anyone forget it. Susan Martinez, who'd gone to high school with my mother and somehow still tolerated her. The cardiac suites are just magnificent, Mom was saying. Of course, I don't understand all the medical equipment, but I'm sure it's very advanced. My daughter works here, you know. She could probably explain it all, but she's terribly busy. Always working. No time for a personal life, unfortunately. What does she do here? Mrs. Holbrook asked. Mom waved her hand vaguely. Oh, something with hearts. Charity work, I think. She's always been very giving, very compassionate. Not ambitious like her brother, but sweet. David, that's my son, he's a vice president at Anderson Consulting. Very important position. He's actually considering several executive opportunities at Fortune 500 companies. I felt Richard tense beside me. Shall I? He whispered. Not yet, I said. Let her finish. The group reached the main floor and turned down the central corridor. The walls were lined with donor recognition plaques. Smaller contributions of $10,000, $25,000, $50,000. The women stopped to read names, commenting on mutual acquaintances. Then they reached the end of the corridor. The wall opened up into a grand atrium, sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. And there, carved into the marble wall in letters 2 feet high, Chin Cardiovascular Innovation Center. Below it, a bronze plaque, dedicated with gratitude to Dr. Jennifer Chin, whose vision, expertise, and generosity made this facility possible. Her donation of $15 million and leadership as Chief of Cardiothoracic Surgery ensure Sacred Heart remains at the forefront of cardiac care. The women stopped. Read the plaque again. Mrs. Chin, no relation, spoke first. Diane, is this your daughter? My mother laughed. Actually laughed. Jennifer? Oh, of course not. She doesn't have that kind of money. This must be another Dr. Chin. Common name. But it says Jennifer, Mrs. Holbrook said quietly, pointing. Coincidence, Mom said firmly. My Jennifer is sweet, but she's not. I mean, $15 million. She drives a 10-year-old Toyota. She rents an apartment. If she had that kind of money, she'd have mentioned it. Would she? Mrs. Martinez asked, her tone pointed. Mom's smile faltered. Well, yes. Of course. We're very close. She tells me everything. I stepped forward from where I'd been standing in the lobby entrance. My footsteps echoed on the marble floor. Hello, Mom. She turned. Her eyes widened when she saw my suit, my badge, the professional authority in my bearing. Jennifer. What are you doing here? I thought you were working today. I said. Just finished a 4-hour aortic valve replacement. Went perfectly. Mrs. Rodriguez should make a full recovery. The Garden Club women looked between us, confusion and dawning realization crossing their faces. You performed surgery? Mom said weakly. I'm a cardiac surgeon, I said simply. Chief of Cardiothoracic Surgery, actually. I've been chief for 3 years. Richard Morrison stepped forward, extending his hand to my mother. Mrs. Chin, I'm Dr. Richard Morrison, hospital director. You must be so proud of your daughter. She's one of the most accomplished cardiac surgeons in the country. We're honored to have her here at Sacred Heart. Mom shook his hand automatically, her expression blank. Yes. Of course. And this generous donation, Richard continued, gesturing to the plaque. $15 million to build this center. Combined with Dr. Chen's surgical expertise and her innovations in minimally invasive cardiac procedures, Sacred Heart is now a destination hospital for cardiac care. Patients come from across the country to be treated by your daughter. 15 million, Mom repeated faintly. The plaque doesn't mention her other contributions, Richard said, warming to his subject. He was enjoying this, I realized. Dr. Chin also funded our Cardiac Research Fellowship program. Another 5 million. She's on the board of directors. She's published 47 papers in peer-reviewed journals. She's trained over 60 cardiac surgeons, many of whom now lead programs at other major hospitals. Mrs. Holbrook beamed. Diane, this is wonderful. Why didn't you tell us your daughter was Dr. Jennifer Chin? I read about her in the newspaper. She saved Congressman Morrison's life last year, the emergency triple bypass. That was you. Mrs. Chin asked me, her tone completely different now. Respectful. Impressed. Yes, I said simply. And the new pediatric cardiac program? Mrs. Martinez added. The one that's been in the news? That saves babies with congenital heart defects. Dr. Chin founded that program, Richard said. She performs the surgeries herself. 17 successful infant cardiac repairs this year alone. 0 mortality rate. The women stared at me with open admiration. My mother stared at me like she'd never seen me before. I don't understand, Mom said, her voice barely above a whisper. Why didn't you tell me? I did tell you, I said gently. You asked what I did and I said I worked at Sacred Heart. You asked what kind of work and I said cardiac surgery. He just assumed it was something small. Something unimportant. But, $15 million. Where did you get that kind of money? I'm a highly specialized surgeon, I said. I consult for medical device companies. I've developed surgical techniques that are licensed internationally. I give lectures at medical conferences worldwide. I've made good investments. I live modestly because I don't need much, and I'd rather invest in healthcare than luxury cars. Your apartment, Mom said. You said you were renting. I own a condo in Pacific Heights, I said. It's rented out. The apartment I live in is closer to the hospital so I can respond to emergencies quickly. Cardiac surgery doesn't keep business hours. Mrs. Holbrook touched my mother's arm. Diane, you must be incredibly proud. My mother's face crumpled. Not with pride. With shame. I should have known, she whispered. I should have asked. I should have. Oh God, Jennifer. What have I done? The other women exchanged uncomfortable glances. This had gone from a pleasant tour to a family drama very quickly. Richard, bless him, smoothly intervened. Ladies, if you'll follow me, I'd like to show you our hybrid operating room. It's one of only 12 in the country with this particular imaging technology. Dr. Chen, would you do the honors? I led them through the center, explaining the technology in terms they could understand. Showing them the operating rooms where I'd performed over 2,800 successful surgeries. The ICU where my patients recovered under the watchful care of nurses I'd personally trained. The research labs where we were developing new treatments for heart disease. My mother didn't say a word. She just followed, her face pale, her usual confidence completely shattered. When the tour ended, the other women thanked me profusely, asked for business cards, which I didn't have. Maria would get some calls on Monday though, and promised to spread the word about Sacred Heart's incredible cardiac program. Only my mother remained in the lobby as the others headed to their cars. Jennifer, she said. Can we talk? I have to check on Mrs. Rodriguez, I said. By post-op patient. Please. Just 5 minutes. I nodded and led her to a quiet consultation room. We sat across from each other the same way I'd sat with hundreds of families, delivering news both good and bad. I'm sorry, Mom said immediately. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I should have known, but I didn't know. You didn't want to know, I said quietly. Every time I tried to tell you about my work, you changed the subject. You'd ask one question and then start talking about David's latest promotion or achievement. You made assumptions about my life and never bothered to verify them. I was wrong, she said, tears streaming down her face now. I was so wrong. I thought because you weren't like David, because you weren't loud and confident and always talking about your success, that you must not be successful. I thought quiet meant failing. Quiet meant focused, I said. I didn't talk about my work because I was too busy doing it. Saving lives. Building a career. Making a difference. And David, she asked weakly. I could have been cruel. I could have told her that David's vice presidency was a middle management position, that his team was small, that his salary was less than my malpractice insurance premium. But I didn't. David is successful too, I said. In his own way. He's good at his job. But you built him into something he's not because you needed one of your children to be impressive. You needed someone to brag about to your friends. That's not fair, she protested weakly. Isn't it? How many times have you introduced David as a VP? How many times have you mentioned his accomplishments to your garden club? And how did you introduce me today? Something with charities. Not ambitious like her brother. Sweet but busy. She flinched with each quote. I heard you, Mom. In the corridor. Telling your friends that I couldn't possibly be the Dr. Chen who donated $15 million. That I didn't have that kind of money. That it must be a coincidence. I didn't mean. You laughed, I said, my voice breaking slightly despite my effort to stay composed. You laughed at the idea that I could be successful enough to afford this. Your own daughter, and you laughed. She buried her face in her hands, shoulders shaking with sobs. I should have felt satisfied. Vindicated. This was the moment I'd imagined, the moment when she'd realize what she'd missed, what she'd dismissed. Dad, I just felt tired. I wanted you to be proud of me, I said quietly. Not for the money or the titles or the recognition. Just proud of me, Jennifer. Your daughter. The person I am, not what I've accomplished. I am proud, she said through her tears. I'm so proud. You save lives. You built this incredible center. You're brilliant and accomplished and amazing. But you weren't proud yesterday, I said. Yesterday I was an embarrassment. Someone you apologized for to your friends. The disappointing daughter who hadn't made anything of herself. That's not true. Mom. It is true. And we both know it. He looked up at me, mascara running, pearls askew. How do I fix this? I don't know if you can, I said honestly. This isn't something you can fix with an apology or a grand gesture. This is 15 years of dismissal. Of assumptions. Of choosing David's small victories over my silent ones. Please, she whispered. Tell me what to do. I stood. Start by asking questions. Real questions. Not about my income or my titles, but about my work. About what I care about. About who I am. And then actually listen to the answers. Will you come to dinner? She asked. Next week? You and David both? I need to do better. I'll think about it, I said. Right now, I have a patient to check on. I left her there and went to the ICU. Mrs. Rodriguez was awake, groggy but stable. Her daughter sat beside the bed, holding her hand. Dr. Chin, the daughter said, standing. Thank you. Thank you so much. The nurse said the surgery went perfectly. It did, I assured her. Your mother's heart is strong. She'll be home in a few days. We were so scared, the daughter said. But everyone here, they all said you were the best. That if anyone could save her, it was you. I smiled. She saved herself by coming in when she did. I just helped her heart along. As I left the ICU, Maria caught up with me. How did it go with your mom? About as well as could be expected, I said. Is there anything urgent? 3 consults for Monday. 2 potential surgical candidates. And someone from Forbes called. They want to do a follow-up feature on the new cardiac center. Have them call Richard, I said. He loves that stuff. Will do. And Dr. Chin? For what it's worth, your mom's garden club friends have been calling all afternoon. Apparently the word is spreading. You're going to be the talk of the Pacific Heights social circuit. Great, I said dryly. Just what I always wanted. But Maria smiled. Maybe now your mom will stop introducing you as something with charities. Maybe, I said. That evening I sat in my small apartment near the hospital looking out at the city lights. My phone buzzed with texts. David, Mom called me crying. What happened? She found out what I actually do for a living. David, which is? I sent him a link to the Sacred Heart website, specifically the page about the Chin Cardiovascular Innovation Center. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. David, holy shit. You're that Dr. Chin? The one everyone's been talking about? Yes. David, why didn't you tell us? I tried. You weren't listening. More dots. Then, David, I'm sorry. I had no idea. I thought you were like a nurse or something. Maybe a physician's assistant. I know what you thought. David, for what it's worth, this is incredible. What you've built. What you've accomplished. I'm really proud of you, sis. I stared at the message. Was he proud? Or was he just recalibrating now that he knew I was more successful than him? Thanks. How's Anderson? David, good. Busy. Nothing like saving lives, obviously. That's amazing what you do. You do good work too. David, yeah, but I'm not you. The next text came 5 minutes later. David, Mom wants to have dinner. Both of us. Next Saturday. Will you come? I'll think about it. I didn't commit. I wasn't ready. Part of me wanted to punish them, to let them sit with the discomfort of realizing they'd dismissed me for 15 years. Part of me wanted to be the bigger person to forgive and move forward. Mostly I was just exhausted. On Monday the hospital was buzzing. Apparently my mother's garden club had spread the word, and suddenly everyone in San Francisco society knew that Dr. Jennifer Chin, the cardiac surgeon they'd read about in the news, was Diane Chen's daughter. The daughter Diane had never mentioned. The daughter she'd dismissed as working somewhere in healthcare. My phone rang throughout the day. Old family friends calling to congratulate me. Distant relatives who suddenly remembered I existed. People Mom knew from church, from her book club, from tennis. I let most of them go to voicemail. Wednesday evening Mom showed up at the hospital. Maria buzzed me from the lobby. Dr. Chin? Your mother is here. She doesn't have an appointment, but she says it's important. I closed my eyes. Send her up to my office. She arrived 5 minutes later carrying a small box. She looked older somehow, more fragile than she'd seemed on Saturday. Thank you for seeing me, she said quietly. I have 15 minutes before my next consult, I said. What can I do for you, Mom? She set the box on my desk. I've been going through old photos. Old memories. I found these and thought you should have them. I opened the box. Inside were pictures of me from childhood and adolescence. Me in my high school graduation gown holding my valedictorian medal. Me on my first day of college. Me in my white coat at medical school orientation. And beneath the photos a folder. I opened it and found every report card I'd ever received. Every achievement award. Every certificate of excellence. I kept all of it, Mom said. Every report card that said, exceptional student. Every teacher who said you were gifted. Every award you won. I kept it all. But you never mentioned it, I said quietly. No, she admitted. I didn't. And I've been trying to understand why. Why I dismissed you. Why I built David up and pushed you down. Why I made you feel like you had to hide who you were. And she sat down heavily. I think I was scared of you. From the time you were small, you were so focused. So driven. You knew exactly what you wanted and you went after it with this quiet intensity that terrified me. David was easy, he wanted approval so I gave it to him. He wanted attention so I lavished it on him. He needed me. And I didn't? I asked. You didn't seem to. You were always so independent. So self-sufficient. I thought you didn't need me so I focused on David instead. And over the years it became this pattern. This narrative. David was my success story. You were, I don't even know. The mysterious one. The quiet one. The disappointing one, I said. She flinched. Yes. And I'm so sorry. Because you're not disappointing. You're extraordinary. You're everything a mother could hope for and I was too blind to see it. Why now? I asked. Why are you telling me this now? Because I realized something on Saturday, she said. When I was standing in that lobby reading your name on that wall. I realized that I don't know you. My own daughter, and I don't know what makes you happy or what you dream about or what you're afraid of. I know the surface. You're a surgeon, you save lives, you're brilliant. But I don't know you. No, I agreed quietly. You don't. I'd like to, she said. If you'll let me. I know I don't deserve it. I know I've had 35 years to ask and I didn't. But I'm asking now. Will you let me know you? I looked at this woman who'd given birth to me, raised me, and somehow missed everything that mattered. This woman who'd built me up as a child and torn me down as an adult. This woman who was my mother for better or worse. It's going to take time, I said finally. A lot of time. And I can't promise I'll forgive everything. Some things hurt too much for easy forgiveness. I understand, she said. I'll wait. However long it takes. Saturday dinner, I said. I'll come. But Mom, if this is just about showing me off to your friends now that you know I'm successful. It's not, she interrupted. I promise. It's about trying to be the mother you deserved all along. I can't undo the past, but maybe I can do better going forward. She left and I sat in my office looking at the old photos. There I was at 8, beaming in my science fair ribbon. At 12, holding my first biology textbook. At 16, serious and focused at a chemistry lab bench. That girl had known exactly who she wanted to be. And she'd become that person, despite a family that hadn't seen her, hadn't valued her, hadn't understood her quiet determination. Saturday came. I drove to my parents' house in Pacific Heights, the house I'd grown up in but never quite felt like home. David's car was already in the driveway. A BMW, least I knew because he'd told everyone about it. I parked my Toyota and walked to the door. Before I could knock, it swung open. Jennifer, Dad said. He'd been quiet through all of this, letting Mom do the talking. Come in. The dining room table was set simply. No fancy china, no ostentatious display. Just plates and glasses and a roast chicken. David stood when I entered. Hey sis. David. We sat. Mom brought out the food. For a long moment no one spoke. Then Dad cleared his throat. Your mother has told me everything. About Saturday. About how we've treated you over the years. Jennifer, I owe you an apology too. I've been so focused on David's achievements that I never stopped to learn about yours. You're a vice president, I said to David, my tone neutral. At Anderson Consulting. That's an accomplishment. You should be proud. I manage a team of 12 people, David said quietly. I make presentations and manage budgets and coordinate projects. It's good work. Important work. But it's not saving lives. It's not changing medicine. It's not what you do. Different work, I said. Not lesser work. But you've been letting us think we're more impressive than we are, Mom said softly. You've been protecting David's feelings. And mine. And your father's. By staying quiet about your own success. I wanted you to value me without it, I said simply. I wanted to be enough just as Jennifer. Not as Dr. Chin or chief of surgery or the woman who donated $15 million. Just me. You've always been enough, Dad said, his voice rough with emotion. We were just too stupid to see it. So tell us, Mom said. Tell us about your work. Not the impressive parts, though we want to hear those too. But tell us about what you love. What makes you passionate? What gets you up in the morning? I looked around the table. At my parents, humble for perhaps the first time in their lives. At David, genuinely interested rather than competitive. I love the moment when a heart starts beating again, I said slowly. After surgery, after we've repaired the damage, there's this moment when we restart the heart. And it beats. Strong and steady. And you know that person is going to wake up, going to live, going to go home to their family. That's what gets me up in the morning. Tell us about Mrs. Rodriguez, Mom said. The patient from Saturday. So I did. I told them about the grandmother with severe aortic stenosis, about the delicate surgery, about the relief on her daughter's face. I told them about the pediatric cardiac program, about tiny babies born with holes in their hearts who I got to send home healthy. I told them about my research into minimally invasive procedures that would make recovery easier for patients. I talked for an hour. They listened. Really listened, asking questions that showed they were engaged, interested, trying to understand. When I finally wound down, Mom said, I Googled you. After Saturday. I found your publications. Your presentations. The awards. There's so much I didn't know. You could have asked any time, I said. I know. And I should have. Jennifer, I spent 15 years building a narrative in my head about who you were. And that narrative was wrong. Completely wrong. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry too, David said. For being smug about my job. For acting superior. For not seeing how amazing you are. You're not going to suddenly become a different family, I said. This doesn't fix everything overnight. We know, Dad said. But we'd like to try. To do better. To actually know you. I looked at them, really looked at them. Flawed people who'd made terrible assumptions. Who'd hurt me through neglect and dismissal. But also people who were, at least in this moment, genuinely trying. Hey, I said. We can try. The dinner ended around 9. As I was leaving, David walked me to my car. I called Anderson on Monday, he said. Told them I needed to scale back my hours. I've been working 60-hour weeks trying to prove something, but I don't even know what. Trying to impress Mom and Dad, I guess. You don't need to prove anything, I said. Neither did you, he pointed out. But we both spent years trying anyway. Fair point. I'm proud of you, he said. Really proud. And I'm sorry it took me this long to say it. I'm proud of you too, I said. You're good at what you do. You make people's businesses run better. That matters. Not as much as saving lives. Different impact, I said. Not lesser impact. He hugged me then, quick and awkward. Thanks for giving us another chance. I drove home thinking about second chances. About families and flaws and the complicated calculus of forgiveness. About whether people could really change or if they just learned to perform change convincingly. Time would tell. On Monday, Maria handed me a stack of messages. Your mother called 3 times. Just to chat, she said. And someone from the San Francisco Chronicle wants to interview you about the cardiac center. And Mrs. Rodriguez's daughter sent flowers. I looked at the messages, at the evidence of a life well lived despite a family that hadn't seen it. Call the Chronicle back, I said. Schedule the interview. And call my mother. Tell her I'll call her tonight after rounds. Really? Maria asked, surprised. Really, I said. We're trying something new. Actually talking to each other. How progressive, Maria said dryly. I laughed and went to see my patients. Mrs. Rodriguez was being discharged, healthy and strong. A new admission needed an emergency bypass. A post-op patient was recovering beautifully. Lives saved. Hearts healed. Work that mattered. And now, finally, a family who might actually understand that. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was a start. And sometimes a start is enough.